Hey guys, Danny here, and we're going to be talking about the Saab 600, which, if you don't know, is just a rebadged Lancia Delta, and Saab has been kind of known for rebadging other cars, such as the 92X, which was only produced from '05 to '06, and is pretty much just a Subaru Impreza wagon, and they're kind of hard to find. And you definitely don't want to bang up the front on those cars because there's not a lot of them. The front body kits are only Saab specific. You can't take one off of Subaru, but the other cars that are well known are, and my cat's jumping down. And the other cars were the 97X, which is like a Chevy Trailblazer, and that one was only produced from '05 to '09. It was introduced in '04, but that came in a straight 6 and a V8, and I've been doing some work on those lately at the shop. Nothing big, well, actually sort of big, but as you know, those 5.3s and the V8, sometimes the rockers get a little stuck, whatever. I don't know. That's not what this video is about. The Saab 600 was only produced in 1980 to '82, and the car was only produced in Sweden, Finland, and Norway. And now the cat wants to go out of the door. You're making it real hard, Zig. Okay. This happened after the deal with Saab was made with Lancia in the 1980s to have a car produced, like a collaborative. So at that time there was a Fiat group, all Italian cars, consisting of Lancia, Alfa Romeo, and Fiat, obviously. And these led to the Type 4 project, which I guess was leading up to more common, better platforms such as like the 9000 and other like Fiat Chroma, Alfa Romeo 164 for Lancia Thema, and some of those, like I think the Lancia Thema, or I think it's the Lancia, is still being produced today. It was brought back over time, and surprisingly from the 80s they're still making newer styles of that car. So the Saab 600 was created because of financial issues that Saab was facing back then, so they decided to team up with other car manufacturers, which is why they worked with Lancia to get a model out, since they were not able to create their own new models at the time. So Saab 600 first year of sales weren't really good. They had a few models, a GLS and a GLE, which I think was dropped later on. It might have been due to pricing, because overall sales were bad due to a high price on the cars overall. And the Delta models, like Lancia, their models were doing alright, but the price tag was just a little too much on the Saabs, and it was only offered later in like a 1.5 with a whole 85 horsepower. Whew, and he opens the door again like you can't get a break. So they had the 1.5 liter with 85 horsepower. It's not got too much horsepower, but I think it was with a 5-speed manual, and it was always a front-wheel drive hatch. The 1.5 liter was a 2-port carburetor with 85 horsepower and was front-wheel drive with a 5-speed and was a 5-door hatch. And I have Kitty now, right Ziggy? Woo! So Ziggy, what did they do with the Saab 600? Well, the Saab 600, whoa, never mind. Now I'm gonna be covered in hair. The Lancia Delta was awarded like best car of the year, I think it was, in '80. Oh, this cat's going crazy. So as of today, there's probably like fewer than about 100 supposedly online. It's kind of hard to find, since some of those Saab 600s are in personal, private collections. So it's hard to get hair everywhere because of the cat. But it's hard to tell how many there actually are. But it's a very hard car to find, especially if you're in the US, because it was really only brought in like Sweden, Finland, and Norway, and maybe another place in Europe or something. I'm not too sure. But it's funny, the wheels were aluminum alloy wheels, a 13-inch 165/70 R13 wheel, and the cars, the Saab 600s, were also still unibodied as they are today, and it had cloth seats, so I mean it wasn't the craziest fanciest car. Sales on the Lancia Delta had started in '79, and by 1980 their sales had exceeded over 100,000. And the Lancia Delta HF Integral, pardon my Italian or whatever the name comes from, I don't think I'm saying Integral, I'm not too sure. So that car had was a special World Rallycross car, which had a 8-valve. It was their 4-wheel drive rallycross car, which was winning from 1987 to 1992, I think it is. It was a 2-liter fuel-injected 4-cylinder. Made a lot more power than the Saab 600. So, I mean, what happened if Saab was still working with Lancia at this time and they got their hands in the 80s on that car, and maybe a lot of the newer Saabs they would have started using all-wheel drive sooner, and maybe they had some rear-wheel drive cars. I can't. If Saab had rear-wheel drive cars, I'd be so happy. Delta had new upgraded parts in the motor, upgraded valves, valve seating, water pump, larger water pump, bigger injectors, I think, a different Garrett T3 turbo at the time. It was making like, I think, 185 horsepower at 5,300 RPMs, and I think those World Rallycross cars are pretty cool, and I'm sure this one would be pretty cool to see at that time. And I mean, it was winning for quite a few years. So I think it was torque was like 224 foot-pounds of torque and 3,500 RPMs, probably because the turbo was a little smaller, so it was able to spool up quicker. Not too sure. I mean, I'll probably never get my hands on one of those cars because they're so far away. So that car needed better braking, it needed better master cylinder, bigger master cylinder, better brakes, and overall was all upgraded. The Delta, this isn't too much about the Saab 600. The Delta was a little bit more popular and was out longer, and in '89 they decided, Delta decided to make a 16-valve for their rallying. So in '89 they actually won San Romeo Rally, and this was helped to a bigger engine with a different torque split from front to rear, 47% front wheel drive and 53% rear wheel drive in the car. I believe that car was 200 brake horsepower and 185 foot-pounds of torque, I think it was, which that was an 8-valve. I think they went back to the 8-valve, and top speed of 137 miles per hour, which, I mean, if you're a rallycross car, I'm not sure how fast you're going to go, but that's pretty fast. Developed a lot of good rallycross cars, but Saab was already stopped working with Lancia at that time. So, I mean, if you could imagine that in the 80s, if Saab continued to work with them, I mean, the Turbo X right now might have 400 horsepower. There's not too much else to say about the Saab 600. It wasn't there for many years, and the Delta continued to prosper and develop and win more rallycross events in its class. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I give you a little bit more insight on a Saab 600 and a lot on the Delta. I mean, it was just such a part of that car. I mean, it was, the Saab 600 was the Delta, so it's like, sorry, I'm holding a hat. I'll just put it on. My hair was annoying me, so I mean, I hope you guys like understand where I'm coming from. It's kind of hard for me to talk about this car, especially I'm so young. I was never there for the car, and I mean, probably a lot of people in the US don't really know of it. And I mean, it was just another rebadged car, but I mean, only because Saab was having struggles back then, having to develop their own car, so they combined with another company, and as you see, they've done multiple times to this day. Hope you guys like that, and maybe I'll start doing more of these videos and talk about other Saabs or other cars. Kind of leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.